Hello everyone and welcome to Memory Flow, where we discuss fragrance and fragrance collecting, and today we are taking a look at Coriolanus, a fragrance that has a very interesting story to tell, but which time and the market treated with indifference. 1998, let's all remember this year, at least when it comes to perfumery, or better said, perfumes that were marketed towards men. It's a time when aquatics and fougères reigned supreme. People were very much into freshies. Everybody was still writing that cologne note, that very watery and slightly fruity note, which I happen to like quite a lot, but that's not the point. So 1998, let's see what was happening at Guerlain during that time. In 1994, this marked the purchase of the house by the LVMH group, which means that the famous house of Guerlain, the noble perfumery house, if you will, no longer made its own decision. But that was ultimately a good thing, I guess, because the house wasn't doing well. That's the reason they sold it in the first place. So I guess we shouldn't hate on LVMH that much. After all, it's because of them that we can still find Guerlain. Anyway, the current head of the house at that time was Jean-Paul Guerlain, and he was losing ground. Then there is 1996 with all the Champs-Élysées launch, when LVMH chose Olivier Crespe's submission over Jean-Paul Guerlain's. Champs-Élysées, by the way, was a tremendous flop. I made an unboxing of Champs-Élysées. I don't think I've talked about that fragrance since. I made an unboxing and I mistakenly said this was the fragrance was done by Jean-Paul Guerlain, when it wasn't. In fact, this was done by Olivier Crespe, and this is the information you get from Fragrantica, which is not accurate. Enter Coriolan in 1998. This fragrance right here, this version, this together with Maora in 2000 would be the last major releases until Jean-Paul Guerlain would finally retire in 2002. He still remained in an advisory position until 2010. When we all know what happened. So Coriolan was a bold move, as Luca Turin puts it, and he is quite right on this one. Guerlain went against the grain with the launch of this fragrance, as I said. This is an old school masculine, even for 1998 standards, especially for today's standards. This maybe could have done better, and maybe it would have been better regarded if it came out in the 80s. But alas, Jean-Paul was quite late to the party. Even so, this, in my opinion, is a statement fragrance. So usually I advocate for the separation of the art from the artist, but in this case, I say no, and let's see why. So first of all, let me tell you how Coriolan smells. This is an aromatic leather chypre with the very clear Guerlain signature, of course. The aspects, this has a green aspect to it. It is very dry, it is bitter, it has sage, it has juniper berries in it. It's also citrusy with floral undertones from a neroli. It's very Mediterranean. It calls to mind the dry air that reminds me of a Mediterranean steppe, which is a beautiful image to have in mind while smelling this perfume. It's woody and earthy, has a lot of oak moss and patchouli, and a rather sweet benzoin base, which, hello Guerlain. Then there's this unique thing which I can only call a human aspect. The best I can describe it is sweaty, musky leather, because there's a fennel note in this. So yeah, that's quite interesting. This smells, overall it smells very clean, it's very barbershoppy. Imagine the barbershoppier aspects of Heritage, because indeed this does have some similarities to Heritage, especially the EDT, because it smells like classic aftershave. That's it. It's also very metallic. It smells like copper, if copper had a smell. By any standard, this smells outdated. It's old-fashioned, but nevertheless, it's elegant and classy. This is something that a very elegant man would wear if he wouldn't want to bother with fragrances. This is, I mean, someone that's not very fragrance savvy would probably purchase, and this is not a bad idea at all. This is, it does have its purpose. This is a very good fragrance. It's not bold, it's not out there, this doesn't challenge you in any way. I might even go to say it's quite mediocre. Then again, I find this to be far, far better than most releases, even for today. What I like about this fragrance is the way that it outlines, from that human aspect I mentioned earlier, the way that it outlines, with the help of the cheaper contrast, a very special main character, a figure of someone that is rugged. He's manly, he's a man's man, but then again he's noble, with clear access to expensive grooming products. It's someone that's active, maybe worked up a little sweat, and that metallic smell can either be a sword or it can be blood, or both. It can be a bloody sword. Which, of course, takes me to the character of Coriolanus, which was the inspiration for this fragrance. He was a historic figure, he actually existed, but the inspiration for the fragrance was indeed Shakespeare's Coriolanus. And I will quickly mention this. Shakespeare's Coriolanus is a tragedy. It's one of Shakespeare's last tragedies. This follows Gaius Marcius, who was a Roman general that earned his cognomen after his victory against the Volscians by taking their city of Coriolis. And henceforth he would be remembered as Coriolanus. I'm not going to go through it all, you can read it for yourself, and I do recommend that you do this. What is remarkable about Coriolanus, the tragedy, is which, very much like the fragrance, the eponymous fragrance, didn't do so well. It wasn't a huge success. So what's remarkable about Shakespeare's Coriolanus is, of course, the main character, who is tragically inadequate in a society that becomes less about patricians, less about the nobles, and more about the common folk, which were called plebeians. Indeed, famous is Coriolanus's diatribe against the plebeians, in which this is a highly controversial diatribe, especially for today's standards, because roughly Coriolanus calls them unwashed masses because they were rebelling against they were rebelling because of hunger, but how dare they rebel against the noble and the divine order of things, which is highly controversial. Coriolanus ends tragically. He is killed by the people he trusted, by his former allies. As a figure, he is very complex. He is a misfit. He doesn't belong in society anymore. Society is changing and doesn't have room for him. So he wants to destroy it. He is proud, he is self-righteous, he is also brave and courageous, and ultimately a hero for the Romans. So yeah, I imagine this is how an aging Jean-Paul Guerlain must have felt in 1998 to watch his house, his family, and his life's work go the route they were going. And this is indeed a bold reference to make in a fragrance and a very strange choice. Let's talk about the bottle of the fragrance. The bottle is so beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful bottles I have from Guerlain. This was done by Robert Granay, of course. This is how it opens. This is supposed to remind us of a 19th century gunpowder flask. I will post a picture of one of these antiques. So again, we have a military emblem supposed to remind us of the classic, the eternal masculinity, which is, in my opinion, a gorgeous reference. You can imagine this fragrance didn't do well. It was another tremendous flop from the house. And of course, it was soon after discontinued to be forever more something for the vintage hunters out there. In 2008, however, it was reorchestrated and relaunched into the Le Parisien line with the name of L'âme d'un héros, which translates to the soul or the heart of a hero, which is another beautiful reference to Coriolanus. Oh god, it's more or less the same fragrance. I find the new one to be somewhat deeper, even more bitter, even more vegetal, if not even a lot, but not a lot, a little more floral. The older one is drier, but they are essentially the same fragrance. So if you're curious about this one, whichever you may find, it's fine. Consider yourself lucky if you want to find this. But alas, in 2018 or so, I don't remember quite well, L'âme d'un héros, this one was completely scrapped, and that was it for our hero Coriolanus. A tragic end, but I think a fitting one, because no one talks about Coriolanus, no one remembers Coriolanus, no one wants Coriolanus back. Well, I shouldn't say no one, as every Guerlain fragrance, I'm sure this also has a cult following. There are many fans of the fragrance, I'm very sure. I am also a fan of the fragrance. There's nothing remarkable about the scent. It's beautifully done. I'm very happy to own it. But it is in fact beautiful. I would never tell you this is a must-have, but if you are a die-hard fan of the house, and even so, there are many other things to discover. But if you are like me, when it was indeed Coriolanus's time, so yeah, I actually like it, although there's nothing truly remarkable about this. When I first smelled it, it was in this form, and this is indeed Although it's nothing to write home about, this is a good fragrance. It's perfect for summer. It's that old school, very masculine chypre, which, hey, I love them. I love a good metallic smell, and I love a good reference. But there you have it. This was my review of Coriolan and Lambda Neros. I hope this helped you in some way. This actually, I didn't pay quite a lot for this one. I paid something of maybe 70 euros. I found it online. It's quite rare, but you can still find it. As I said, the bottle is gorgeous. It's not, this is not metal. I'm not sure, but this is not metal. I think it's plastic that's dyed this beautiful bronze color, which of course is another gorgeous reference both to the scent and to the main character. This one used to be sold for 215 euros, which is quite a lot. This was very overpriced. The staying power is not great. It does its job, but after 6 hours you can barely feel it, although, well, it does remain on clothing and textiles, so I guess you can apply it on clothing, but that's that. The staying power is not great. So yeah, there you have it. This was my review of Coriolanus. Do let me know if you know of this fragrance, if you are curious about this fragrance, if you have any other questions. And until next time, remember, fragrance creates memories, and may yours be happy.